Hello, everyone. Welcome to another broadcast from Leicester College. Today, we're doing something special for Mental Health Awareness Week, which is starting next Monday. So ahead of that, we're focusing this session on the topic of kindness in its many forms. So I'm joined by Alessandra, and she's going to be covering ways you can incorporate kindness into your everyday life and some activities for you to do at home. So I'll pass you on now to Alessandra, who's going to talk you through a bit more about kindness.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alessandra, and I'm a mental health and wellbeing coordinator at Leicester College. I work with Aspire, and we provide mental health support to all students at college. Today, I will talk about kindness. This session is about kindness, and it's in preparation, as Nick said, for next week, Mental Health Awareness Week. And you can find this the recording of this session next week, or you can go back to this. And so don't worry about taking notes, because you can go back to it. And next week, there will be many more activities on kindness and mental health. So stay tuned on the Leicester College social media. So if we can go to my presentation. Okay, so the reason why we are talking about kindness this year for Mental Health Awareness Week is because we all have been going through a difficult time during this outbreak of coronavirus. And practicing kindness can be a very powerful way to cope better under this condition. And when I say kindness, what I mean is 3 different forms of kindness. Kindness to others, kindness to ourselves, and kindness from others. And the reason why it is important to practice these 3 forms of kindness is because they make us feel better. And by feeling better, we can also manage better challenging situations like the one that we're currently living. During this presentation, I will give you some tips and fun activities to do at home. And these activities are mostly to motivate you to practice nurturing your kindness while at home. So the first form of kindness that I will discuss is kindness to others. This is the most common form of kindness. When we think about being kind, we usually think about being kind to other people. An important feature of kindness to others is that in order to be kind to other people, we need to connect to them. So as an example, I will use the current situation, the coronavirus outbreak, to show you that under challenging, difficult circumstances, people have 2 ways of responding. We can either focus on our own suffering, or we can connect to other people and tune to their suffering. So in the first case, when we focus on our own suffering, for example, what the coronavirus and the lockdown measures meant to our lives, we will start feeling a sense of a series of emotions, and we will start behaving in a certain way. So, for example, when the coronavirus started and we were asked to stay at home, we had to change the way we were used to work. We had to change the way we were used to study and learn. We had to change the way we were used to socialize, to exercise. And some of us also had to change our plans, and we have to put some life plans on hold. So focusing on this makes us feel angry. It is unfair that this is happening to us. So we may start thinking that this should not be happening to me, or why this is happening to me. We may also feel a sense of isolation, not just physically, because we are asked to stay at home, but also mentally and socially. We start feeling lonely. We start feeling self-pity because we couldn't achieve those plans that we had in mind for us during these months. And most importantly, we are scared. We are scared for our health. We're scared for our friends' and family's health. And we're anxious. We're anxious because it's an uncertain time. So when the coronavirus first started and we were asked to stay at home, a lot of us went out to shops and we started to buy a lot of things because we wanted to ensure that we could provide for ourselves while staying at home. What we ended up doing was buying too many things and emptying the shelves in the shops So this type of behavior that is called the panic buying is very normal under these circumstances. But what it represents is how when we are self-absorbed on our own suffering, we can forget about other people. But all these reactions and emotions are perfectly normal. They are legitimate under conditions like this. It's a very challenging time. And so it is normal to feel angry and lonely and anxious. However, what I would like you to do is just to take a moment and take a step backward and think whether those emotions and those reactions are actually helpful. Are they helping you to cope better under these circumstances? And you may find that a more helpful way to respond to a situation of challenging or to a difficult situation like this one is to try and connect to other people. And you can do that by shifting our focus of attention from our own suffering and include other people's suffering. So that if we look outside of our window, we realize that we're not the only ones suffering under this situation. Our neighbors are also suffering. People in Leicester are suffering. People in the UK are suffering. And people all over the world are suffering. So when we use this approach, when we try to connect to other people and tune to other people's suffering, we can understand that everyone, and most everyone in the world, with their own level of suffering and with their own type of suffering, we're all in the same boat. And this simple and little realization just makes us feel less isolated. It makes us feel more connected. And by being more connected, we also put ourselves in a better position to wanting to help and support other people, wanting to be kinder to other people. And altogether, this has a positive impact on our well-being. We feel better and our mental health can benefit from this. When I first started to shift my focus of attention from what the coronavirus meant to me and from my own suffering to other people, I was also able to put things in perspective so that even a difficult situation like the coronavirus started to allow me to make a balance between the positive and negative aspects of such a situation. So why should we be kind to other people? So we're talking about being kind to others and being connected to others, but why? So the research, scientific research, has shown that helping others and being kind to others can be very beneficial for people's mental health and well-being. In particular, those studies have shown that when people are kind to other people, their level of stress reduces, their negative feelings also decrease, and their sense of isolation improves. At the same time, we have an increase by helping others. We have an increase in our well-being. We start experiencing more positive emotions. Our physical health improves, and we also feel a sense of belongings. So we feel more connected with other people and less isolated. So the research is on our side. It's good to be kind to other people. It makes us feel better, and it makes us manage difficult situations better. So doing good does you good. But before trying to be kind to other people, I would like you to keep 3 golden rules in mind. So when you want to be kind to other people, start by doing something that you enjoy. For example, I love cooking, and what I did was try to help people that are in need with cooking meals for them. So I started from something that I enjoy doing. And then keep others people in mind. So think always, remember why you're doing it, and you're doing it for the benefits of the other person. So keep their needs in mind. And finally, try not to overdo it. Because doing good does you good, it's tempting to do a lot of things for other people, but we don't want to forget our own needs, and we don't want to invest too much time, too many resources, and more than what we can afford to help other people, because then we would feel overwhelmed, and we don't want to do that. So by keeping these golden rules in mind, how can we be kind to other people? So there are many ways of be kind to other people. And again, When you think about what's the best way for you to help other people, think about what fits your time, your abilities, your resources, your interest, and then you can do some volunteering, for example. There are many local charities that are also active at the moment during this crisis. You could join a support group. For example, if you're managing a long-term health condition, you could join a support group and provide your experience and expertise to them and your support. You could do something for a good cause. For example, you could organize an online event of fundraising and maybe in fancy dress. And you can also do some random acts of kindness. So there are many things. It doesn't have to be a great gesture. Anything, it's good, as long as you respect those 3 golden rules about keeping your needs and other people's needs in mind. At the end of this presentation, there is a slide with some useful links on opportunities in the areas for volunteering and for supporting. So you can have a look at that and see how you can fit. And the Mental Health Foundation put together some list of activities, of acts of kindness that you could do also now while you're at home. And these activities are aimed to help you feel connected with friends and family. It helps you to be kind at home, to be kind at work, and to be kind within the community. So, for example, this is a list suggested by the Mental Health Foundation on how you can keep connected with friends and family. And you can find different forms. For example, you can arrange to have a cup of tea and a virtual catch-up with someone you know. This is a list of activities you can do to be kinder at home, from the simple gesture of making a cup of tea or a cup of coffee for someone you live with. These are some suggestions on activities for being kind at work. Most of us are working from home, and it's good. It's efficient. We can have team meetings and everything works well, but we may miss that human contact with your colleagues. So a nice idea would be maybe for example, next week, try to arrange to have a video lunch with your colleague. And finally, you can do acts of kindness to the community, even if you're at home. So for example, you can offer to send someone a takeaway, or you can offer to support vulnerable neighbors. And there are a lot of activities that could be done. And my challenge to you, in order to motivate you to practice your kindness at home, is to try and pick 3 acts of kindness from this list and try to do them in 1 week. Next week could be a choice, because it's Mental Health Awareness Week, and I have chosen my 3 acts of kindness to do next week from this list, and I would like you to try and motivate yourself to do this. Especially try to see how you feel when you do acts of kindness towards other people. And you may find that it's actually quite simple and easy to be kind to other people. What is most difficult is another type of kindness, is being kind to ourselves. Being kind to ourselves is about showing understanding towards ourselves when things don't go as planned. And currently, at the moment, a lot of things may not have gone as we have planned. So it is very hard to be kind to ourselves. And the reason why it is kind is because we are all, to some extent, familiar with this type of self-talk that I'm presenting here. Like, I'm always wrong, or I'm not good enough, I'm so dumb, I'm a failure. This self-talk, we can call them our inner voice, is a sort of running commentary in the background of your mind. And we often don't even realize that they are there, but this inner voice has a big impact on how we feel about who we are and what we can achieve. And the problem is that under circumstances of difficulty and challenging like this one, this voice is often judgmental and hypercritical. So we tend to be harsher towards ourselves. But the good news is that we can transform this self-talk and make it more caring, kinder, and more gentle towards ourselves. So that rather than say, I'm always wrong, we can start telling ourselves that this time I was not right. Or rather than saying, I'm so dumb, tell yourself, I made a mistake. How can I repair? So there are ways of changing this self-talk from being unhelpful to be something more helpful. And one way to do that is by starting to listen to this inner voice. So what is your voice telling you? Notice what is saying to you and notice whether this self-talk is mostly positive or negative, or is it mostly helpful or unhelpful? And try each day to make a note of that. And once you're able to listen and recognize this self-talk, this inner voice, you may be able to challenge it. And a good way to challenge it is to, for example, if you have the thought of being a failure, so let's say your inner voice is telling you, I'm a failure, act like a scientist and try to gather actual evidences in favor or against that thought. Another very useful way of challenging this inner voice is, for example, imagine your friend or someone you care about. If they were in a similar situation, what would you say to them? And most of the time you will realize that you will use a very kind language towards your friends or people you care about. And so you could use that same language towards yourself when you feel that inner voice is being harsher towards yourself. And finally, you can try to get some changes also by making a list of positive things about yourself. And have that list always available and reach out to that list every time you have that voice telling you something that is hypercritical or too self-judgmental. And try to be proactive and think, what is the alternative? What are the actual facts? What can I learn and how can I make things differently? So changing this inner voice has a big impact on how we feel about who we are and what we can achieve. So by being kind towards ourselves, we can also be able to cope better under challenging situations. There are other ways of being kinder towards ourselves. For example, we can use touch. Touch is a very important and powerful sense. It's important for survival in all animals, including humans, and it helps us calming down distressing emotions. So, for example, give yourself a gentle caress your hand, give yourself a hug, or put your hand on your heart. And then don't forget during these challenging periods to ask yourself, what do I need right now? And try to give it to yourself. Maybe you need a break. So maybe you need some me time. And so use that time to do everything that makes you feel better. It could be go out in nature. It could be relax, listening to some music, do some mindfulness, some meditation. And then try to treat yourself. Do things that you would not normally do to yourself. Have a warm bath or buy yourself some flowers. And most importantly, remember that this is a challenging time and it is okay not to be okay. So this is a very important thing to remind ourselves. When we feel things are getting too much, always remember that it is okay not to be okay. It is normal to have these feelings and emotions. So to motivate you to practice your self-kindness at home, I will challenge you with this bingo game. So I've challenged a friend of mine, and we agreed to do like the first that does bingo in the next 2 weeks wins. So you could do it. It contains activities, things that you could do to be kind to yourself. And finally, just a few words about kindness from others. So sometimes it's very, we feel good when someone is kind to us, but sometimes we find it difficult to accept that kindness. And the reason why sometimes it is difficult to accept that kindness is because we're not able to recognize our self-worth. So we feel like we don't deserve that kindness from other people. So try to, when someone is kind to you, try to respond just by simply be grateful without thinking about doing anything, any greater gesture. Just be grateful and say thank you. And if they find you that you don't know how to respond and how to accept that kindness because you think that you don't deserve it. Just try to practice these different ways to say thank you when someone is kind to you. There are many ways that you can be grateful to people, and say thank you is one of the most, the easiest and the most direct one. So try to practice these different ways. So we covered the 3 different kindness in 20 minutes. So I just would like to give you a final motivational activity, and you don't have to do it. It's just really everything is, if you feel like you want to do it. This is Meaningful May 2020, so we're already in the middle of the month, so you can decide to do it from tomorrow, or you can decide to do it next month or in 2 months, what you prefer and what you feel like. But this contains 31 actions that you could do to practice self-care and self-kindness, and also how to be kind to other people. So it's a good motivation, and it was suggested by Action for Happiness. So thank you very much for listening. And here there's a list of useful resources for some links on how you can be kind to others in the community. And here you can find more information about Mental Health Awareness Week from the Mental Health Foundation. Thank you very much. If you have any questions.
Thanks so much, Alessandra. That was really nice. Loads of really good information and tips for people there, which is really helpful at the moment for people that are at home, lockdown. It's a very challenging time for mental health. So I really appreciate you doing this broadcast for us, and we'll hopefully be continuing with more information during next week, during Mental Health Awareness Week. So yeah, please do check back on this next week. The broadcast will be available on our Facebook and YouTube pages. We will be dropping some links to the services that Alessandra just mentioned at the end. Websites that can be helpful will just be added in the comments, so please check back for that as well. Another service as well, and something to say for anyone who feels like they need support at this time, please do reach out to your friends and family if you feel like you can speak to them. Alternatively, you can go on the NHS website, which has a list of charities and helplines that are there for your support as well, if you need them. Thanks to everyone who's tuned in, and massive thanks to Alessandra for your presentation today. That was great.
Thank you, Nick, for organizing this.
No problem. Thanks everyone for tuning in. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.